Grant is a physiotherapist from the Pulmonary Rehab Program at the Wellness Institute. He graduated in 2014 from the University of Manitoba Masters of Physical Therapy program. His expertise is with outpatient rehab, community-based rehab, pediatrics, and school therapy. He enjoys going for walks with his family, coaching mini soccer, and playing recreational sports. Welcome back, Grant.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about energy conservation. So some of the take-home messages that I'm hoping to chat about here are, hey, there are some strategies that we can do to manage our energy levels and manage fatigue. Things around the house is where we can make the most of this. Taking small steps to improve your health and managing your health are going to be very helpful for that, and allowing us to have more energy doing the things that we need to do and enjoy. And hopefully we can be able to do more managing all on your own by yourself. Energy conservation, it's finding the most efficient ways about doing things that become so that are a little bit easier for completing the tasks with the least amount of energy that's needed. Making the most of what we have for our energy levels. We're looking at balancing between our activities and rest to properly manage our energy. I'll be talking about 6 principles of energy conservation. So all starting with the letter P. We have pacing, prioritizing, planning, positioning, pursed lip breathing, and positive attitude. And let's chat about each one of these in a little bit more detail. Pacing refers to the speed or intensity of which you do things. Slowing down to pace ourselves and avoiding rushing. Pacing yourself during the tasks that require a lot of exertion, like stair climbing, walking up a hill, and incorporating breaks within this. Being mindful of what your limits are and pacing yourself accordingly to that, and taking your rest breaks as needed. Prioritizing. Asking yourself, hey, what do I want to do? What do I need to do? What do I love to do? Prioritizing things, what kind of needs to be done, and doing those tasks first. It's better to have an idea of prioritizing so that you can get some things done rather than nothing at all. Giving yourself permission to eliminate things, so not giving yourself the grace that you're not going to be able to get everything done, but doing what's necessary, or saving them for another day. Planning comes for setting up your day, setting up your week, and within that, allowing some room for flexibility. Scheduling activities that require more energy at times of the day when you're feeling more energetic, and breaking down tasks that are alternating between heavier or lighter tasks, so that you're not getting too exhausted. Plan for periods of time of rest within that as well, and allow yourself to a change of plans as necessary. Positioning your body to arrange your environment, to reduce your shortness of breath. So finding things that you need to do, doing in a sitting position or at a proper counter height. Having your things that you're working with all within reach or in a specific area. Reducing the sort of wasted movements or wasted energy. Resting positions also as needed. So resting positions, sitting down, bracing of the arms, back, or shoulders, helps for ease of respiration, or getting the muscles an easier time with helping with the rib cage movement. So, for example, like the man sitting here, leaning forward with your arms rested, that's going to allow a little bit more efficient way of the rib cage to expand and relax. Pursed lip breathing, adding this into your regular routine, allowing to gain control of your breathing, allowing your body to relax through slowing down the breath and being mindful about your breathing, can also be helpful for relaxation and setting yourself up for the next heavier task that you're doing. As a refresher, and we'll go through maybe a demonstration or a collective, example of doing this at the end of the presentation. But it's a slow inhale through the nose and a slow exhale through pursed lips, like you're breathing out of a candle. And the goal is to try to extend the breath out a little bit longer than what that breathe in would be. By extending that breath out longer, that stimulates our nervous system to kind of relax our bodies. And by slowing down the breathing, we're helpful getting control of our oxygen exchange. Positive attitude. So this is a big one that's going to help with our energy levels, focusing on what we can do, being creative and adaptive to our situations, being patient, making the most of what you have, and having that more positive reflection on our lives and on our situations is just going to allow us to have that little bit more energy for doing things and a little bit more of that drive to doing things that we want to and need to do. So as a refresher of pacing, prioritizing, planning, positioning, pursed lip breathing, and positive attitude. Sleep. This is where how we energize ourselves and to get our energy. So here are some helpful, sort of tips on getting a good night's sleep. Caffeine later in the day, that can be a little bit of a disruptor for our sleep. Television or screens, that's another thing that can negatively stimulate our nervous system to be more alert or awakened. So that might be something if you to stay away from if you're noticing some sleeplessness. Reading a book or relaxing music can be very helpful. Breathing exercises or relaxation exercises like stretching, meditation, yoga, or just simple pursed lip breathing can be very helpful. Phlegm clearance, if that's something that's a bother at night, either when you're going to bed trying to sleep or something that you're noticing throughout the night, doing a routine of clearing some phlegm. I mentioned that in my last presentation here, but as a refresher, you would practice some deep breathing exercises, breathing in, expanding the lungs, breathing out, and combining that with a coughing technique or a huffing technique. So a coughing would be a forceful cough, or a huff would be like a forceful as if you're huffing or fogging a mirror or cleaning your glasses. And that can help getting some phlegm that's built up in the chest, getting that moving. And doing a few cycles of that and getting things moving and out can help for opening up airways and better breathing. If you're not sleeping well at nighttime, it might be helpful to limit your naps during the day or avoiding that. If it's something that, hey, you know what, you're sleeping not too bad at night and you're still, wrestling with energy levels, a nap throughout the day is not a bad thing at all. But this is something I'm mentioning to avoid in the case that you're having poor sleep at one end, and having two areas of broken sleep with a nap and at night. It might be better to just avoid the nap altogether and get a longer, more meaningful sleep at nighttime. Mobility aids can be a big thing for helping us conserve energy. So things like walkers, canes, walking sticks, wheelchairs, scooters, things that help us get around are going to be a very good support for our prime movers, our muscles for the body, and allow us to do a little bit more, a little bit easier. Things like walkers, scooters, or things that allow us a place to sit in case we need to gain control of our breathing and not able to do a longer stretch of walking at all in one shot. As well as the actual act of walking is a lot easier if you have some hand support. And if something, if in the case of poor balance or slippery conditions, these things can be very helpful for preventing falls and injury. Asking for help. Giving yourself permission to ask for help. It's not an easy thing to accept that you're not doing the things that you used to be able to do, and to have others in your life that are able and maybe and quite willing to help you out, to ask them and give them permission to help you out with things that you need. It's okay that things are different. And to not comparing yourself to how things were or to how other people are doing. That's not a fair thing for yourself there. Easier said than done for all of these things, but definitely something to reflect on, and can be helpful for moving forward. So lots of things can make us tired, and can affect that. How we're sleeping, what we're eating, our activity levels. So if we're doing too much, we're going to get tired, but if we're not doing enough, we're also going to be more likely to get tired too. So it's a balancing act there. Our physical conditioning of how our body, our muscles, our heart and lungs are all working. Those are going to affect our fatigue and energy levels, our mood, and our health. If we're dealing with an acute sickness or other chronic conditions, those are also going to play a toll on our energy levels. And there's going to be overlapping with all of these things onto one another too. So there is a connection with our health and well-being in all sorts of different domains. Small steps to kind of work at improving these things can be very helpful and can have big effects, compounding effects to managing our health and well-being. So, aim to have small improvements on things like your sleeping habits, your eating habits, your exercise or activity habits, and your mood. For activity, we want to be able to be mindful of this inactivity cycle, that if we feel breathless or feel fatigued while doing something, we don't necessarily want to feel that we are now having to avoid those things. Because if we're doing too much avoiding or staying away from activity, we're not doing as much. Our muscles and our heart are not getting the right type of conditioning or exercise, which leads to them being less efficient, which creates us to be more inactive and continuing that negative cycle. So engaging in some regular activity is very important for managing our fatigue levels in the long run. For anything, but activity specifically, we want to start low and go slow with our implementation of exercise and activities, setting achievable goals to working on our health. So working on our exercise, our nutrition, our sleeping habits, being consistent with that as best as you can, and avoiding doing too much too quickly, because that can just lead to frustration, burnout, and less likely to kind of achieve and be sustainable with certain things. As you go along or gain momentum with regular healthy habits, then hey, add a little bit more or progress things a little bit more if you can, and applying those 6 principles of energy conservation are going to be very helpful as well. I'll talk a little bit about different situations around the home and apply some of these recommendations for making things a little bit easier. So stairs, handrails are going to be something that's going to make it a lot easier for going on the stairs. Putting your whole flat foot on the stair in each step, pacing yourself accordingly for each one there, and you can even timing your breathing as you're going through the step, inhaling as you're placing the foot and exhaling as you're stepping up, and pausing between flights to not get too winded. In the bathroom, having an area to sit down, either in the shower or bathtub. So that might be by design, or having a removable bath seat or bath chair in there to sit down. Using long-handled appliances or wash things to help with reaching instead of having to overstretch or bend. That might be what am I trying to say? It might be the cause of shortness of breath. People are a little bit more, between bending over, adding a little bit more compression onto the lung areas, or doing some reaching. That's going to be a little bit strenuous. Electrical appliances are a little bit easier too. So things like electric toothbrushes and shavers. Removable shower head, as well as a bath seat or a bath bench, is also a little bit easier. Using a robe to dry off rather than a towel, and having anti-slip mats is also a great idea to reducing the chance of having a fall. Things like a raised toilet seat is also easier for getting up and down, or having a railing or grab bars to doing that, to hold on to, using your upper body as assistance. Some tips while getting dressed: sitting down in a position there is going to be easier than standing up and balancing or leaning. Potentially safer too. Gathering all the items before you start, so having a little bit a plan, grabbing everything, and instead of having to go, get one item and get dressed, go get the other one, gather everything in one area. Using long-handled equipment or a footstool, so things like grabbers for grabbing shoes or socks. There are long-handled shoe horns for putting shoes on there. There are different sock aids or things there too, in case of issues with bending over, that you put your sock on this little device, and that with some strings are going to be helpful for pulling the socks over your foot. Considering easy to clean fabrics or things that are just easier to manage, like Velcro shoes or self-tying laces. And looser clothing is also going to be easier for donning and doffing as well. Sitting down to prepare meals while you're doing your cutting. Or consider getting things that are kind of pre-assembled there. Cooking large quantities and freezing for later, so you have a supply there. And planning a time where, hey, you got a little bit more energy, you can plan out your meal preparation a little bit. Ready-made meals are also a good thing. Positioning items in the kitchen that you're regularly using, having them at waist or counter height. So you're not having to reach the upper cupboards or down to the low end. Preparing meals earlier in the day, if that's a time where you're a little bit more optimized for your energy levels, and planning ahead, making shopping lists and stocking the fridge and freezer. For meal cleanup, it's a good idea to take care of things right away, so you're not having to use that arm elbow grease there after use. Let dishes air dry versus actually standing and drying them, if that's the case or the situation that you're dealing with. Having a place in the kitchen where you can sit, so an elevated stool or something that's kitchen counter height can be helpful. And then delegating those things to other people can also be very helpful. Out grocery shopping. Know sort of things like in the stores that you frequently use, like where how parking is, where the washrooms are, benches, or other places that you can sit. Carts are easier for getting around, right? So having a place to rest the arms and to push around is going to be a lot easier than just standing or carrying a basket or carrying your items. Organizing your shopping list so that as you're going through the store, you're kind of got a system of the way that you go, reducing the amount of time that you're going there, and potentially using services that like parcel pickup, delivery, or having friends and family assisting with bulk shopping. And it might be breaking up tasks throughout the week, so it's not always in a one big shot. If one big outing is a little bit too much. For doing laundry, things like a long-handled reacher can be helpful for getting things there, reducing the amount of time or the need for prolonged bending. Sitting down while you're doing some sorting and folding, so having a space where you can set that up. Wheeled carts can be helpful for moving clothing from place to place, depending on what your home situation, but that might be something that can be helpful. Whether or not that's for clean or dirty ones, but there are wheeled laundry hampers that can be helpful rather than carrying them. And potentially, having a laundry service if that's something that's a real tough thing for you. Housework, it's to try to get those things done, but so pacing yourself and not having to do everything all at once. So break it down one room at a time or one area at a time to do that. Pace yourself to do it. Try not to get overwhelmed with what kind of needs to be done that way. Long-handled appliance might be helpful for dusting, sweeping, and cleaning, scrubbing. Sitting can be helpful. Asking help or hiring as needed for these types of tasks. Outside, maybe there's help nearby, or somebody that you can hire for help there, because these can be a little bit more physically demanding tasks. They are good for activity, right? But in the case that that's not working, or there's times of the year where things are too hot for getting outside, or we are a little bit more sensitive to the environment there. It might not be reasonable that we're doing everything ourselves out there in the yard. Lawnmowers with a key start and self-propel are going to be easier. Long-handled garden tools, raised garden beds or flower beds, or other things that, hey, you know what, if you still want to keep a little bit of a green thumb, there are some modifications that you can do to still get out in the garden and be active. Consider what type of plants that you're doing that are a little bit less lower maintenance, things like perennials or whatnot. And there are things like wheeled carts or other garden chairs to have to doing allowing places to sit and relax. And then also giving yourself the time that, hey, once the snow melts, we don't have to do this all in the first weekend. Spacing that out as things warm up, and having a little bit more, giving yourself more time to do it, so you're not getting burnt out all in one shot. So yeah, thank you. We'll have this time now in case you want to chat about any of the topics that I discussed here.
On the first breathing out,
Yeah.
you say out through the mouth. Is there a actual scientific difference between if we breathe out through our mouth to get that relaxation of the body versus out through the nose?
Yeah, that's a good question. Whether it is through the mouth with the pursed lips, it does slow down the because you're applying a little bit of resistance by pursing the lips, so that allows you to extend the breath a little bit longer. Versus the nose, it's going to be a little bit more free flowing, so a little bit maybe harder for the timing of it. I don't know. I don't have any specifics, science background from that, but from my experience of doing that type of breathing, having that resistance from your lips helps with that slower, more prolonged exhale.
And the focus is to extend the exhale.
Exactly. That's the main focus. The extending the exhale is the important thing. Deep breathing or mindful breathing, I think, is beneficial regardless, right? So if you're spending the time just with, deep, slow nasal breathing, I think that you'd probably get good benefits from doing that as well. This particular technique is, I guess my personal preference or bias towards that, and just allows for easier teaching and developing of that long extended exhale technique.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Here, I've got a.
So on the topic of breathing, you mentioned stair walking, And I don't think this is, I mean, I've never thought about it, walking up the stairs and holding your breath. No, taking a breath when you step and then letting it out when you, how's that work?
Yeah, so it would be with exertion. It's an easier timing it if as you're doing the actual exertion, the force of stepping up, you're breathing out with the exertion. We teach that with exercise too, as you're lifting a weight, you would breathe out as you're lifting, or out as you're exerting. So it doesn't necessarily it could be if the exercise is a push, it's a breathe out as you're exerting, and in as you're rebounding or relaxing or resetting.
You'd really have to practice that to get in tune with that.
Yeah, it'd be a bit of a practice. The takeaway that I would just recommend from that is try not to hold your breath as you're going through the stairs. If you are doing it the opposite way, it's not wrong. So don't think that you have to breathe a certain way by doing the stairs, but there is a little bit of an ease of doing it if you're breathing out as you're exerting yourself.
Okay. And the other thought I had was when you were talking about napping and fatigue, that with IPF, like fatigue is relentless. And also I think oxygen requirements with people who have pulmonary fibrosis and how that can affect. But I can't see someone with like IPF not going through their day without taking a short nap.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that hopefully I made that point clear that naps can be very helpful, right? But if it's at the expense of a lousy, like if you're not sleeping at night for whatever reason, maybe the nap during the day needs to be addressed, whether or not it's shorter or whatnot, to making a longer, more meaningful sleep.
Yeah. And then, I mean, if you are struggling with your oxygen needs, would that contribute a lot more to the fatigue?
Oh, absolutely. The body's having, if there's an issue with oxygen needs, the body's metabolism has to kind of work to compensate for that. Right. So that's putting its toll on the body there, which is going to lead to fatigue.
Thank you. And I know, Grant, I would like to stress, I liked your pointers about the tools that help people. And in Brad's case in particular, like the apparatus that they have to put your socks on, it really works. And the bars that you put on your toilet, they really work. And we were gifted one of those beds that are automatic to put your head up and down. They really work. So all these tools that you mentioned are really good tools that maybe people can consider.
Yeah. So most medical supply stores here in the city are great for having these types of mobility or home equipment supports that just kind of make household tasks a little bit easier. So if that's something that kind of, hey, maybe having some grab bars by the toilet to help making that transition a little bit easier. Stopping by one of those places and sort of see what they have and what might be helpful to making things a little bit easier.
I was surprised at the amount of tools that are out there that benefit people in situations of medical needs.
Yeah,
they're really good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a big wheelhouse of occupational therapists. They're the ones that are often, sort of assessing those needs for people and recommending them and whatnot. So I'm taking a lot of the content from my talks there from the lens of an occupational therapist. But yeah, there's plenty of things that make things a little bit easier to do, so that hey, you can still get out and about and do what needs to be done and still have that stuff going on.
So you don't need a prescription for those devices?
You may need them for a prescription. You might need a prescription for if you were claiming them on an insurance claim. That'd be something you just have to check with your provider. But to go to the store to buy and purchase, no, absolutely not. But some of that stuff would be considered a medical device or medical assistance appliance, whatever. So some people do have some coverage for those. And what I'm not quite sure, also that, for our taxes, medical expenses can be a deduction there. I don't know whether or not that's needed as a medical expense for a tax deduction. Yeah, so a prescription for that.
You get a prescription and then you buy the device, it's much easier to claim it on your taxes.
Then it's going to be easier for the taxes. Yeah. So that would be another thing too. So if you didn't have insurance, having that prescription would be helpful.
The doctor should write you that prescription, no problem.
Absolutely. Yep. Doctors would write it. Occupational therapists would write it. There's not very many of those. Physiotherapists would write it as well. But yeah, absolutely, your doctor would provide that. Same thing for walkers, canes, walking poles, etc. They'd be helpful. And even I would argue things like like a garden stool or stuff for around the house.
Stool in the shower.
Yeah, a bath. Yeah, any bath things there. And then there's also new tax deductions for home accessibility credits as well for doing some renovations. It may not even renovations, but having things in the home making it easier for getting around your place.
Those electric beds, the automatic lifting,
Yep.
you can claim those as an expense as well.
Yep.
You get a prescription.
Hospital beds or reclining chairs. That's one thing. Those are things that I didn't talk about, but absolutely are going to be easier. Some people might find that, hey, sleeping on a little bit of incline, having the chest or head elevated a little bit higher, opens up the airways a little bit better. So that might be, actually having a lift to the bed. There are in these stores foam wedges that you put underneath or on top of your mattress that will lift you up a little bit higher there too. Sometimes takes a little bit of getting used to being in a different position. So it's hard for me to say that yes, everyone needs to do something. No, it's going to be on an individual basis for those types of things. But I'm just saying what's sort of out there. And then reclining chairs, so things reclining chairs that have a motorized thing that lift you up part of the way, getting down from up from a height that's a lot lower is going to exert more force than something that's a little bit higher up there. With that being said, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So it's still some value of being able to get up and down from a chair and doing a little bit of exercise in that way. But having parts of our day where we can conserve our energy, it's a balancing act in a sense.
I was just going to say, if you have a prescription and you go to get a lift chair, you don't pay the taxes on it. No GST, no PST. It's just the price of the chair.
Price of the chair, yeah.
And the other thing, with the equipment to help you put on your socks, if you have compression socks, they don't work as well. But if you take that device to your shoe repair and ask them to make you something to help, my shoe repair put a solid curved piece of leather on it so that it doesn't close up tight, and it works like a charm.
Okay, for compression stockings.
For compression socks.
Excellent.
Especially I have hammer toes as well, so it was next to impossible to get it on with the device that I bought. And so he just took the device, added leather around it, and put rivets in it to hold it on, and it works marvelously now.
Fantastic.
There's one other thing that most people don't realize, that you can get a higher toilet bowl, and they're not that expensive.
Right.
Even if you had to pay for it out of your own pocket, the installation cost would be more than the toilet itself is worth. Toilet's worth $200-300 max. And you can get a 16-inch or a 17-inch toilet for that, and get rid of that low knee killer 15-inch toilet.
Ron, they actually have extensions you can put on your existing one.
Where'd he go? Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, the extension, those are helpful maybe in a temporary situation, right? If somebody's had a surgery and have to limit things that way, but as a permanent solution, yeah, they might not be the most popular.
Yeah, I used one of these foam triangles, or whatever you call them, wedges for my bed,
Yep.
and I found that it's still there's a bend in your body. It's not that comfortable,
Sure. Okay.
and so Dr. Homick suggested put some wood underneath your bed, because then your bed stays straight. So what I did is I put 2x4s underneath my bed to elevate the end, and that works very nice.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
But a question I have is, we're looking at doing some renovations, installing a shower. And that's because of mobility. Would that also be covered for income tax?
I believe. Yeah. Absolutely. I believe so. Yeah.
Would we have to apply for all of that before we start, or how does that work?
That you'd. I don't know.
And where would we inquire about that?
So the government of Canada has on their website sort of the criteria for the what's it called, the home adaptability or home accessibility tax credit. So you would go there. So it's I think it's something that you just would save your receipts and apply for it. But all of it would be identified on the Government of Canada home accessibility tax credit page.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Not a question, just maybe a bit of advice.
Yeah.
Does anybody here use like a grocery parcel pickup? Like click and collect kind of thing from like Walmart or Superstore. Does anybody do that? No, nobody.
That's for your generation.
Yeah, but I mean like grocery stores is where there's a lot of germs, right? Like and like you could, like if you had to go grocery shop for like an hour, push a cart, like it could be a problem. But just my personal recommendation would be to use Walmart click and collect. Just because on their app you can refund anything that they give you that's bad without you having to go back inside the store to physically give it back. Like we've bought, I have 3 boys at home. My life is very busy staying home with them. So as much as I love taking them grocery shopping, sometimes I can't. So we just use click and collect. And the worst is when you get strawberries and they're moldy and you're like, now you have to go back into the store and return them. But on the Walmart app, you just go refund and they just give your money back without any hassle. So it's a very convenient thing if that is a situation where you struggle with.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. That's some good information. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that it takes you just have to do a little bit of that scan beforehand, right? Instead of it just being put in, then you drive home and do that. So you gotta have a system. But yeah, it is a good service that instead of having to go for a car, bring the cart around or having to lug things in, having somebody else to do that, it can be helpful. With that being said, it is also a good activity of getting out and about and doing that too. So there's both sides of the story. Okay, yeah. So I'll move ahead and we'll kind of go through some breathing exercises here. So I'll invite everybody to maybe stand up, and I'll talk a little bit here. Is that we ran through these ones last time, where these particular breathing exercises were identified by some researchers, and had participants with pulmonary fibrosis perform these, ask them to perform 3 times a day. And the participants that did that, although they didn't necessarily, their condition didn't improve, they didn't decline as prominently as those that didn't do these exercises. So we'll go through these ones there. We'll do three breaths. The first one emphasizing, I have in quotations the total lung, but trying to get as much total rib and upper body movement. The second one emphasizing in the lower rib cage, and then the third one emphasizing a little bit more to the upper part of the lung. Sorry. At your own pace, go through these. So don't feel that you have to rush and keep up with my pace. But let's go through these pace at your own pace, taking a deep breath in as you reach the arms. So deep breath in, and hey. If you're feeling a little bit, dizzy or a little bit lightheaded from doing that, pace yourself with them as well. So the next one we'll move over, we'll be doing a reach over. If you're limited with your arm reaching overhead, I'd invite you just to put one arm on the side and just do the side bending motion rather than the reach and side bend if your shoulder is giving you grief. So. Yeah. Inhaling as you're coming up, exhaling as you're straightening out. And I hope that you're feeling a little bit of that stretch and that opening up, into the side of the ribs. So we'll do the opposite side now. Okay. The last one, emphasizing the upper part of the chest. We'll bring our hands sort of behind our head, raise our elbows up towards the ceiling, and then relaxing it back down. Great. You can all have a seat. Coughers, yeah. So maybe that got things moving, right? We got some phlegm or things mobilizing in the lungs, causing a tickle or reflex. The other thing too is standing up and doing some reaching and motion. Hey, we're exerting some energy for that, right? So that's also a stimulus or something that can bring on a coughing spell. Is it? It depends. Yeah, it depends. If that's something that, hey, oh boy, I'm feeling a little bit lightheaded. I feel like that was a hard work. Well, maybe you have to take things a little bit slowly. Maybe that's, these things would be still good for you, but at a little bit of a slower pace from that. If it's something, you know what, that just felt like a good stretch, and now I got a tickle in the throat and I'm getting some coughing there. I think that's very much a good thing. We're opening up the airways. We're getting some of the phlegm and secretions mobilizing there, and hey, bringing some of that stuff up. Mm-hmm. yeah, so I hope that you kind of were able to experience that. Hey, we got the upper extremities moving and mobilizing, getting the shoulders, the rib cage moving, and feeling that, hey, we got some air, to set in deep within the lungs. Not only the actual effort of our diaphragm, which opens up the airs, but mobilizing our ribs and our rib cavities is very helpful for allowing good movement for our lungs. Okay, we'll finish off with some pursed lip breathing. So as a refresher, we're going to get in a comfortable position. This is a more relaxing and getting control of our breathing technique. So relaxed, comfortable position. Maybe having our shoulders supported. We're going to be slowly breathing in through the nose, pursing our lips like we're blowing out a candle, and breathing out. The goal is that we're going to be extending that breath out longer. Not everyone might have the capacity of, hey, doing 2 seconds in, 4 seconds out. That might, hey, either stimulate a cough, or they're feeling, you know what, that's actually making me feel a little bit like I need to breathe heavier. So you kind of do what you can for this type of position. But we'll go maybe for the next couple of minutes here, doing at your own pace, breathing in through the nose and out through pursed lips.
How about the holding between the inhale and the exhale?
I would say no need for a hold in this particular one there. The goal is to just get through some calm breathing. Sometimes that holding of a breath can be a little bit of a little bit of a stress on the body, feeling, okay, I need to breathe. I'm missing that air. This is just for pure relaxation and gaining control of the breath. Great. Did you notice that your bodies tend to relax a little bit if you pace and slow it down a little bit? It was quiet in the room, and it was, we had that just sort of that nice just calmness throughout the room that did that. But for ourselves doing that breathing, I hope that you did sense that, hey, things kind of relaxed there in our shoulders, relaxed in our bodies, and there was a little bit of a calming effect from doing that. So setting time throughout the day, and I know it can be tough if you're feeling shortness of breath and you're feeling a little bit anxious to then all of a sudden switch paces like this. But this is a very powerful tool that can be done at any time to, hey, gain control of our breathing and get in a relaxed state. Okay. Was there any other questions, comments, or anything else that I'd like to talk about?
Lung expansion. How can you expand your lungs?
How can you expand your lungs? Deep breathing is gonna be helpful for that. There's gonna be a limit to what actually can be expanded, right? It's part of holding on to what you got for your lungs. So the deep breathing exercises like what we did there are promoting full inhale, expanding of the lung, not only our lungs but our ribs and our upper bodies. And by taking into deep breathing, does that. With that being said, though, like I mentioned, these exercises, even with the participants that did that for a year, their lungs didn't expand from doing that, but it would help them with managing and holding on to what they did do. Exercising. So actually moving our bodies and exerting ourselves to deep breathe is the most beneficial way of getting our lungs moving. Because it's not only from our lungs having to do that deep breathing and exchanging, but we're challenging our muscles to better uptake that oxygen and to have a little bit more of an efficient system there. So that's the best way of working our lungs is through things like walking, stationary biking, doing some aerobic exercises or a little bit of resistance exercises. Yes.
Yeah. We store oxygen in our muscles, right?
That's where they get used. That's where the oxygen gets used in the muscles. Yeah.
I understand, like, you have some storage capacity that in your body, and then
in our bloodstream, it's gonna be
not in our muscles at all.
Not the same way as we have like energy stores like glucose and fat stores and things like that. No, oxygen. That's why we're continuously breathing, right? To have that going on. But no, there is no drastic stores in our muscles for that. It's in our bloodstream and then that continual replenish through breathing.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What about using some type of a vibrating machine to vibrate the lungs, especially if you had mucus or anything? Would that also help? Would that be a technique that could be used?
Yep. There are vibrating vests that are out there. Those are used primarily by children with cystic fibrosis, where there's quite an abundance of secretions that are produced with those individuals, and that's something to get things moving. I don't see it very commonly used in the adult or the pulmonary fibrosis population. It's used for children, as children aren't capable necessarily of going through an exercise. Well, it's not just exercise, but it's a need specifically for cystic fibrosis. As I said, I haven't seen it much used in this type of population. But if that's something that you are having a large amount of phlegm build up and needing assistance with doing that, that could be something that's explored. On top of some of the other techniques like the coughing, huffing. There's manual percussion that you can learn by doing some patting or having a family member doing some percussive techniques on the rib cage, and walking or exercising as well is very crucial as part of that as well.
So the benefits of driving in Winnipeg.
There you go.
The city's looking after us.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the cause of sneezing?
Sneezing.
Yeah, I would sneeze almost every day for about 5 times, and it doesn't make sense.
Okay. My understanding of it, I'm not an expert of this by any means, but it's some sort of stimulus to our the nerve endings in our nasal passage of, hey, something's kind of there and needs to that causes a reflex. It's a reflex that comes with that, and it's to expel expel something from our nasal passage.
Because I didn't always have this, but lately it's been almost every day. And there's liquids after, so maybe that's in the lungs, I don't know.
Yeah, my understanding is it's not so much as a lung like it's not the lungs that's sensing that causing that reflex. It's going to be more in the airways than in the upper airways.
It's interesting. We did a survey, I don't know if it was last meeting or in January, about how many people sneeze here constantly, and over 50% of the people put up their hands. So I asked Dr. Homick about that, and he wasn't really sure. Obviously, there's some kind of correlation, I would think, with pulmonary fibrosis and sneezing, but we don't have a lot of great information on it. But I thought that was interesting. It's relatively common.
It could be the house, or the dust in the house, too, find that.
Yeah, and just having a little bit more, it's something that's stimulating, but having maybe a little bit more of a sensitive reflex to it, right? And in your population, having that sensitivity, which causes a little bit more frequency to it. Yeah.
On a serious note, sneezing runs in my family several generations back, and so does pulmonary fibrosis.
Okay.
So I know the link with pulmonary fibrosis, but I don't know that link with sneezing. So
Yeah, so if you go to the gym regularly, exercise a lot, can you reverse the effects of these lung conditions we're suffering from?
No, unfortunately not. Yeah, it's not
That's not what I wanted.
Yeah. And I know that's what I'm trying to sell you, right? And I'm not doing a great job at selling on the exercise, but no, it's managing, and it's a maintenance situation.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a maintenance situation. So it's using what you have and holding on to what you have, and not limiting that negative cycle of inactivity.
So we can't control, what we always teach in clinic is you can't control the lungs. We cannot change your lungs, but we can change your muscle fitness. I think that's what Grant is trying to say. So if we can make your your muscles more fit, you can go from A to B with less shortness of breath. So staying fit is absolutely key.
Yeah. And I see that in my program all the time. Like, so we run, for those not familiar, the pulmonary rehab program at the Wellness Institute. And there's similar other programs at the Deer Lodge Center and Misericordia Hospital. We run an 8-week program that we meet twice a week. We have presentations and topics similar to this, and similar to the other ones that you've have seen through some of my colleagues, so like Kamara and Jill, who will be coming next month. And then we spend some time doing some exercise at the Wellness Institute, and we hope in that time frame to develop a habit for engaging in some regular activity, finding out, hey, what's your abilities are, and doing a reasonable amount that can be kind of consistent and attainable. And we do at the beginning of the program an assessment with myself, and we do something that you might have done either at a clinic or whatnot, 6-minute walk test, where we're seeing how far that you can walk within the 6-minute time frame, monitoring your oxygen levels. And then we do that at the end of the program, and countless times that we see in the 8-week time that we've had no effect on these individuals' lungs, but from getting them moving consistently, their bodies are able to, hey, they can walk a good amount distance more.
I went through that program.
Great.
And it's fantastic.
I think everybody should go through it.
I just
And
completed mine.
I even joined the wellness lodge.
At Deer Lodge. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so your family doctor or your respirologist can refer to us. You can get re-referred to the program every two years. So if you've done it before, if it's been 2 years, you can get re-referred to our program. There's no cost to it. It can be very helpful. So even if, within that time frame that you haven't done it, or if you haven't done it, or if you've done it before and you're not quite consistent with being active, it's a great way of kind of getting things, giving it another go at it.
Is it still 8 weeks?
8 weeks, yes.
So if your doctor doesn't suggest it, you should suggest it to your doctor and ask them. I think, Grant, you were also were able to self-refer as well.
Yes.
That was, I don't know if that still is.
Yes, it's self-refer, and then the
They would send a letter to the doctor.
they send a letter to the doctor.
But at
yeah,
least that gets the paperwork rolling.
yeah.
Okay.
So we called your lodge directly?
No, you would call the pulmonary rehab program.
Pulmonary rehab program, and they're based their office, their intake, I believe, is at Deer Lodge Center. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a central intake.
Yeah.
Well, Grant, I want to thank you very much for your presentation today. That was excellent.
Okay, thank
and we hope to hear from you again in the future.
Okay. No, thank you all very much.